Now on Denver 7 News at 7.
It's so close to home, and knowing how young, she was only 22.
Right now on Denver 7 News on Local 3, a community will gather tonight to mourn after the violent death of a young woman who was closing up shop at work.
So that's 1,000 times further than the International Space Station, further than any human-rated spacecraft has ever gone before.
Well, those high hopes are on hold this morning. The Artemis 1 mission is delayed as engineers investigate a fuel leak. We'll have a look at the Colorado connections tied to the eventual launch.
And happening right now, your morning commute could be feeling a little smoother. The westbound lanes of the Central 70 project are back open after a weekend-long closure. And we're getting closer to the end of the project here. Yeah,
much smoother on the ground than in space today. Thanks for joining us. Happy Monday to you. I'm Brian Sanders.
And I'm Nicole Brady. Yes, so always unpredictable whether launches will happen or not, but we know down here it looks like a pretty good day ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, it would have been a go weather-wise here, right? Clear skies, calm conditions this morning, upper 50s, low 60s right now. We're in for a really pretty start to our week. It's going to be a warm week too. As you're getting out the door early this morning, we'll get to near 70 degrees by about 10 o'clock. We'll be a good 10 degrees warmer than that by early afternoon by 1. It's going to be a pleasant day today. Mid to upper 80s though for highs. Right around 4 o'clock, Denver 88, Greeley near 90. More 70s than 60s in the mountains today. When you look at our 10-day forecast, temperature-wise, we are under some warmer than average conditions, and you're going to see that here on our Super 7-day. I'll show you just how hot it's going to get here this week, Jason, as I can't believe it starts September and we're heading into Labor Day weekend.
I know, it's kind of, time is flying by right now. Speaking of flying by from just a bit ago, Air Tracker 7 along I-70, some of the new lanes here. Still some stop and go traffic as we're getting here to the new tunnel, but you can see that they're in their regular configuration now going through there. This is the covered park right here. This is where the amphitheater is going to be. You can see some of the covered park taking shape. This is the Swansea Elementary School. It's going to be the soccer field right there. So it's all coming to shape there. That's the last of the project. It really has to be done. Take a look at the drive that we have overall. Still heavy stop and go traffic. I-76 rolling on through to I-25. That eastbound crash is all cleared up, but still looking at some stop and go traffic. Out to the west side of town, all better now after that earlier crash westbound at 6th Avenue and Wadsworth. All lanes open.
Well, we have some new developments this morning after a terrible tragedy over the weekend. Friends and family in Greeley are grieving after 22-year-old Angie Vega was killed Friday night while closing up at work.
Wow, just so scary. And there are memorials growing in different parts of Greeley now, including where she worked and where her body was later found. Veronica Acosta joins us now with details on how family plans to remember her.
Angie's family and friends, they actually plan on getting together tonight right outside of where she worked. This is the first time that many of them are going to be able to see and feel all of the love for Angie. They're going to see those flowers and those cards, those notes and candles that were left behind for her. And just this past weekend, we got the opportunity to speak with the woman who owns the salon right next to that NoCo Nutrition. She told us she was having a hard time stomaching what had happened.
I have so much anger because I am a female. I am a mother. I am a daughter. I am a niece. It's just like, you know, she's a niece. She's a daughter. She's never gonna have kids. She's never gonna get married. And that's not fair.
Police say Angie Vega was working at that NoCo Nutrition on Friday night. She had to actually close the shop, but they say they were called to the store. That was just before 8, and we're told the employee was missing. It looked like the business had been broken into. When police arrived, officers saw blood in the store and Angie's car was missing as well. A few hours later, that car was found near 71st and 20th, not far from the store, with Angie's body inside. Now, 24-year-old Marcos Vallejos, who's being held on first-degree murder and sexual assault charges, is who police believe committed this crime. And as far as Angie's memorial goes, we know family and friends, they're going to be gathering outside of the NoCo Nutrition again between 6 and 8 tonight. We're in Denver this morning. I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
All right. Well, thank you, Veronica. Denver and Aurora police had to respond to several violent incidents over the weekend. Police had 5 different shootings spread throughout different neighborhoods here. 2 people were killed in these shootings and 8 others were injured. So far, no arrests have been made.
Nicole, we're also talking to the family of a man killed in Denver's Sunnyside neighborhood. There was a vigil last night to remember Tomas Jimenez. He was one of 4 people shot outside what neighbors describe as a house party, which happened near West 42nd Avenue and North Clay Street early Sunday. His sister believes that party got out of control, and when neighbors went to call 911, they reported hearing gunshots. Tomas, a woman, and 2 kids were shot.
Something needs to happen with the gun laws. Too many men and young kids are dying, and it's the young kids that are having access to these guns. He wasn't a boy. He wasn't a 20 years old. He was a 41-year-old man who was living his life in his home, you know, doing what he thought was right to come out here.
So if you know anything about what happened, give Denver Police or Metro Denver Crime Stoppers a call. Now to new details in the Mar-a-Lago search. Officials have made parts of the affidavit filed in the raid public, revealing the number of classified documents allegedly in former President Trump's possession. And now intelligence officials say they're assessing the potential risk to our national security. ABC's Pierre Tomas reports.
This morning, as we learn new details about the FBI's unprecedented search across Washington, calls intensifying for an assessment of damage to national security. Even Republicans reluctant to criticize the former president, not offering much defense.
He should have turned over all of them. I imagine he knows that very well now.
The newly released affidavit, though heavily redacted, still providing new insight. It signals that the DOJ investigation is far from over and involves a grand jury. It confirms that criminal targets have been identified and that the FBI is looking for more. This section from the affidavit leaping off the page. The FBI has not yet identified all potential criminal confederates, nor located all evidence related to its investigation. There's even worry that some of the classified documents may have been taken to locations beyond Mar-a-Lago. The newly released DOJ documents also make clear the FBI came to search Mar-a-Lago based on evidence from a significant number of civilian witnesses. Witnesses the FBI fears could face intimidation and retaliation as the probe continues. And we discovered more details about the scale and seriousness of the documents involved, some with national defense secrets and intelligence about spies and electronic eavesdropping programs. Just from boxes turned over to the National Archives last January, we learned Trump had at least 184 classified documents, with 92 labeled secret, 25 described as top secret, in excess of 700 pages.
Well, this was the scene from Florida earlier this morning. A lot of anticipation. Artemis 1 almost launched, but due to ongoing engine issues, liftoff was scrubbed just after 6:30 this morning at the start of a 2-hour launch window. They just want to make sure everything is safe and all systems are go before it takes off to deep space for a 6-week trip around the moon. The next launch window is Friday, just before 11 a.m. our time. And as we anticipate our first return to the moon, which would be Artemis 3, and for the first time in more than 50 years,
Wow.
There are a few steps, obviously, that need to take place before we get there.
Yeah, so Denver 7's Jessica Crawford joins us now. Of course, we'll get another chance to launch Artemis 1 on Friday, but then, of course, this is just the beginning.
It is, and just like Brian said, they're pretty much safety first here,
Yeah.
so it's a good thing they're delaying it if it's not a safe thing to do right now. So we were prepared to see a launch today, but NASA is now planning to launch its most powerful rocket yet on Friday. Artemis 1 won't have any people aboard, but the mission is still high stakes. If it's successful, we could be one step closer to sending humans to the moon once again. Well, for now, all eyes are on Artemis 1 for a successful flight come Friday. The first mission will take 42 days to complete before splashdown back on Earth. And if all goes well with this test flight, then come 2025, we are going to the moon to stay. NASA's goal is to establish a permanent station orbiting the moon called Gateway. From there, astronauts could land on the moon, but it would also be a base for manned space travel to Mars and beyond. Standing 36 stories high and packing 8.8 million pounds of thrust, the Space Launch System will send the Orion space capsule racing towards the moon. Crews are already training for this, and Artemis 2 will send the first woman and first person of color to the moon.
This mission being successful is a sign to the world and to the American people that we've been doing our best with your resources, and so thank you. We owe them that.
The next launch opportunity available for the Artemis 1 mission is Friday at 10:48 a.m. our time, but a launch attempt on Friday would depend on the outcome of them troubleshooting that engine bleed issue that caused officials to scrub today's countdown.
Yeah, that's okay. We just want them to get it right, get it safe, and that way it will lead to future missions.
Absolutely, and they have a chance Friday and then again on Monday if Fridays doesn't happen. So.
Yeah.
So plan B, C, D,
exactly.
all the way down.
That's right.
That's how you got to do it, right?
Yeah, you got to make those plans with so much money and, of course, astronauts' lives at stake. And as we take a closer look at some of the technology that will get Artemis off the ground, there are a lot of Colorado ties. The new mega rocket that will carry the capsule into space is the SLS-1. That's the most powerful rocket ever built. The Orion capsule, which will sit on top, was built by Lockheed Martin in Colorado, and I talked to a senior manager about the project. Any elements that you're looking at that the craft will have to deal with that it may be unexpected, that you're watching to see how the systems react?
Sure. Artemis 1 is a flight test. It's a test. We know we're going to learn something. We're not quite sure what we'll learn yet, but we're going to subject this spacecraft to the punishing environments of deep space. Some of the interesting things, it'll fly through the Van Allen radiation belts, which is a very punishing environment for the avionics, the flight computer systems. The navigation systems, this spacecraft is traveling 280,000 miles away. So that's 1,000 times further than the International Space Station, further than any human-rated spacecraft has ever gone before.
Yeah, pretty wild to think about when she puts it in those terms. The test flight was scheduled to last 6 weeks. Again, they'll try again Friday. Artemis 2, that mission is scheduled for 2024, will carry astronauts, and then Artemis 3 in 2025 is expected to go back to the surface of the moon.
Well, can you think of the last time a movie ticket cost you less than $5? There's a special deal this Labor Day weekend that's aimed at supporting our neighborhood theaters where you can take advantage of it.
And a record sale here. How many millions of dollars this baseball card went for? The biggest sports memorabilia purchase ever.